Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. What is pulling tea and does it make a difference to your brews? This video is part of our Gong Fu Brewing Masterclass series, a series of videos designed to level up your knowledge in the intricacies of Gong Fu brewing so that you can brew any tea placed in front of you just by instinct. And today I want to focus on pulling tea. For those of you who don't know what pulling tea is, you may have seen it in parts of the subcontinent, in Malaysia with Teh Tarik, also in India with their chai tea. And essentially what you're doing is pouring the tea in between two vessels, creating lots of agitation and oxygenating the brews. But what effect does this have on the actual tea? Well, let's dive straight in. I've got some Fukumushi Sencha here. Mayleaf Fukumushi Sencha in our Kyusu here. I'm just going to brew this up. Very quick brew, just to give you a visual example of the difference that pulling tea makes. Essentially what we're doing is pouring the tea or the water from a larger height to give more oxygen into the dissolved liquid, and that will change the character of the tea. So I have tried pulling tea or brewing with pulled water, which means I'm pouring water from a big height into my Kyusu, into my pot, into my Gaiwan. It makes a lot of a mess, it sure does. And it doesn't really make that much difference in my opinion. However, things get a little bit different when the tea is already brewed. Look at that vibrant, vibrant color. Fukumushi Sencha, radioactive green, such a gorgeous tea. I love this tea. Right, so we've got a standardized brew here. Now what I'm going to do is pour half of this brew, there or thereabouts, into another Gong Dao Bei. That's about right. This is my control. And now I'm going to pull this tea in between these two Gong Dao Beis, trying to get, without making too much of a mess, some oxygen into this brew. Now you may have seen very extravagant videos of expert tea pullers in Malaysia with their Teh Tarik or with chai, usually with a very strong black tea. And I'll get onto the reason why it suits strong black tea in a little bit, but you'll see them like pouring with vast distances between the two vessels and really creating this frothy, bubbly brew. Okay, do a couple more. Okay, that should do. So I've briefly pulled the tea. Let's see if we can see any difference in the color here. So this is unpulled and this is pulled. Apart from the frothiness there, can we see a difference? I can visually see a difference here. I'm not sure if you can. This one looks a lot more luminescent, a lot more bright, just neon green yellow. This one just has a slight sort of dulling. It's still very bright, of course, but just looks a little bit more dull. It looks a little bit grayer, and if I pulled more, you would see an even bigger difference. But there is a difference in color, even with such a brief amount of pulling between the two Gong Dao Beis. Right, let's give this a taste. Oh, potent, beautiful. I'm getting oats, I'm getting creamy, porridgey notes, and it moves to this beautiful limoncello, citrusy yuzu sweetness at the end. It's creamy, it's brothy, it's slightly savory, and very, very bright and fresh, just like the color makes it appear it would be. Different. Has a thicker consistency, has a softer consistency. This one was brighter and more bracing, and slightly thinner, but very, very refreshing, and a little bit more of that physical pull on my tongue, a little bit more astringent. This one is warmer, softer, thicker, but definitely loses out on the bright, fresh, verdant nature of this tea. So what is happening here? Well, essentially, we're adding oxygen, and that oxygen is oxidizing the tea slightly. And if you did it for longer, you would get more oxidation. And this is why you want to drink your green teas pretty much as soon as they've been brewed. If you leave them for 10, 15, 20 minutes, you'll see that the colors become more muted, just slightly duller in terms of color. You may even start to see notes of orange colors appearing in the tea. And that is the oxidation process. These teas are active, they're vibrant, they're alive when you put them inside you. And so, you know, they're very reactive to the environment. And you can taste it. Smoother, warmer, softer, but losing that vibrancy. So, for green teas, I do not recommend that you pull your tea. But there may be some teas where pulling the tea has an effect which is beneficial to the taste. For me, it's teas which are overly astringent. They have too much bite, have too much brightness, have too much potential bitterness and dryness, and you want to calm that down. Now, if you think about Teh Tarik and you think about chai tea, they are using very, very, very strongly brewed black tea. So black tea which has been brewed way, way beyond Gong Fu style. They sometimes are simmering the black tea for a long time. And so you're getting a very strong tea, which is suitable because you're mixing it with spices and you're mixing it with condensed milk and evaporated milk. So you need a very, very strong, potent tea in order to stand up to the milk and the spiced additions of chai. And so you're brewing it very, very strong, but the result of that is that you're going to get bitterness, you're going to get excessive astringency and excessive dryness. And so pulling the tea is just going to calm it down, is going to round out that dryness, is going to make the tea feel thicker and smoother. And so I do not recommend pulling tea for greens, but if you've got a green tea which is very, very astringent and you just, want to get through it and you want to, make sure you use up your stash, then you can try pulling the tea. If you're brewing a black tea and it's very, very sort of fine black tea and it may not be the highest quality loose leaf, it may be a bit broken and it's just a bit too astringent, then pulling the tea helps. But those are all cases where the tea, let's say, is substandard. It's not the best quality tea. Is there any proper, true pinnacle tea that benefits from pulling? Well, for me, there is one candidate, and that is ripe puer tea. So I've got my 2 geng shui pots here. Let me heat these up. And get them nice and warm. And I've got 2 pellets of our black Yunnan Tor 96. So this is one of my favorite ripe puers, now 14 years old. Delicious, delicious ripe puer. There you go. So we're using the same quantity of each. We're going to standardize this. Let me just pour this away and rinse this gong da bei. Right. Turn up the heat on this kettle. Give Mr. Froggy a little dousing. And in goes the black Yunnan Tor 96. 2 identical geng shui pots. They have slightly different pattern, but they are identical in size and in shape within reason. They're handmade, of course. Don't want to waste this fukamushi. Okay, give this a quick rinse as well. And then we're going to rinse this torti. Again, the frog gets first dibs. Let's get our nose into black Yunnan Tor 96. Oh. It's a lovely combination of creaminess, but with herbal spikiness as well in there. Wow, it's got like butter and toffee creaminess, but then I'm getting celery tops and charred wood. Ah, delightful. Okay, right. So what we're going to do is we're going to brew this as our control. Boiling hot water, and I'm going to count 10 seconds mentally here in between so that we get there or thereabouts the same brew. That should be about right. Right. Let's tidy up a little bit here. Get Mr. Froggy away. Tidy up our code. So what we're going to do is we are going to rinse these slightly. We're going to pour one from the pot into the gong dao bei at a low height, and the other we're going to pour at a high height. Okay, make sure this is completely clean. Don't want any residual fukumushi affecting things. Okay, so here we go. Pouring this one, low height, you can see here. There you go, and immediately I'm going to be pouring this one from a high height, and I might have to get up here. How high can you go? That's a nice mess. But all for the sake of this experiment. Okay, so let's put them back how they were. So that is the unpulled, that is the pulled. Let's see if there's a difference in taste and texture and also color. Color, pretty similar to me. Can't see a big difference. Right, let's taste the unpulled. Now bear in mind that the amount of oxygen that went through that high pour is nothing compared to what I did with the fukumushi. So we're talking about small incremental changes. Fudgy. It's already very, very smooth. The Chen Shui certainly helps with that. But there is a toppy note as well, like a wood, antique wood incense. Again, some of that Chinese herbal note going on. Okay, lovely lingering sweetness in the mouth. Let's taste the pulled one. So there is a slight difference here, and the difference is a thickness and a smoothening out of the finish. Now, both of these brews are smooth, but what I love about the character of a good ripe puer is that really thick, smooth, luxurious dulce de leche creaminess that comes through with good ripened tea. That's thick, but that's thicker. And it is small, the difference, but it's noticeable. And so for certain teas, certain high quality teas, when you want to max out the thickness, the smoothness, the roundness, and you're not too frightened of shaving off a little bit of the top notes, then pulling tea may be something that you want to experiment with. It is messy. You don't have to do what I did, which is pouring from a height with your pot. You could pour it at low height into the gong dao bei, and just like the fukumushi sencha, you could pour in between two gong dao beis to really accentuate the thickening and smoothing effect of pulling the tea. But I find that just doing this, just raising the pot and adding a bit of oxygen in when you're pouring from your pot into your gong da bei, especially with cooked puer teas and hei cha in general, definitely adds that extra little dimension that's just adding that extra bit of luxury to your tea. Now, if you've seen people in China pouring from their kettle with a great height into their pot and gaiwan, I have done tests on that. I don't think it makes any difference to the actual thickening and smoothening of the brew. I think most of the time that's either done for show or just to agitate the leaves, move the leaves around to make for a richer brew. Oh, both of them are smooth. But this one just feels that bit thicker in the mouth, softer and rounder finish. So if you have teas that are a bit over astringent, that you want to just calm it down a little bit, maybe it's a lower quality black tea or a lower quality green tea, or maybe you've just sort of over brewed maybe one of your Dan Song teas and you just want to calm the astringency, then pulling the tea might be something you want to experiment with. Don't forget, it will take away some of those brighter notes, but with something like cooked puer, where the character, the draw of the tea is those smoother, rounder, more luxurious fudgy notes, then I don't think that that sacrifice is too much of a cost, and the gain is definitely there for you to experience. Let me know your thoughts. Try pulling your tea yourself and let me know how you get on. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.